Recently, I've done a video for the NAP Newswire, which is NAP's monthly email newsletter, and it was a free video for all NAP members on histogram basics. And this is the follow-up. I mentioned the follow-up of, we talked about what histograms were, and now we're going to take a look at how you can start to fix and enhance the histogram here in Photoshop. So if you haven't seen that video, you might want to go check it out because it shows you the basics. And now let's take a step further here. One of the main ways that you can view your histograms in Photoshop is the histogram palette. Okay? If you don't see that palette, you can go to Window, Histogram, and it's usually grouped right in here with your navigator and your info palette. So this gives you a look at your histogram in your photo. Now there's another way though, and this way actually lets you not only see the histogram but fix it. If you go to Image Adjustments, go to Levels, we open up the Levels dialog, and now we get the same view of our histogram here, but we also get the ability to change the way that histogram looks. We can't change it over here in the histogram palette, but we can change it in Levels. What's nice is to have them both open so you can see how your changes in levels are affecting the histogram here. So what we'll do is, if you recall from our discussion on the basics, the histogram is referring to how the tones are dispersed across the photo. As I look at this photo, if I didn't even see the photo, I would guess that the photo didn't have a lot of, it was lacking contrast. And I'd say that because it's missing a whole chunk of the histogram over here. And how do I know it's missing that chunk? Because it's empty. The histogram is empty. Now what colors is it missing? Well, it's missing the dark colors. And if I take my mouse right to this point and I go straight down, the histogram, remember, whatever's down here is referring to the point up here. It's almost like a squished together bar chart. If you think of each color, there's 255 shades of gray. 0 is no color, that's black. 255 is white. Okay, so 0 to white, there's 255 bars straight across this chart. And whatever's down here relates to whatever's directly above it. So when I look at this photo, I can see it doesn't have any of these dark colors, which I'm going to guess means it's lacking contrast. So to fix it is actually really easy. You take the black slider, whatever side is missing, and you just drag it to the point where the histogram starts to jump higher. Okay, and you look at what it does in our histogram palette. See how we get a preview of what our new histogram looks like, and you can see the ghosted one behind it. But this is our new histogram, and now it's nicely dispersed across the photo. Now what we did here is we told Photoshop, I don't have any color, I don't have any tones inside this area. I want you to take everything that's inside this area and make it black. So see this black point slider? Now it's telling Photoshop, I want this color, whatever this color was. It was a dark shade of gray. You can see it's 37. So I'll show you really quick here. If you go into your color picker and you type in 37, 37, 37, that's the shade of gray that we were looking at there. So if you move this along, you'll see it starts off at 0, which is black, and goes all the way up to 255, which is white. So we're in levels, and we've said I want 37, everything between 0 and 37, to be black. That's my black point slider. So I've made all these colors in here are now black. As a result, hit my preview. That's before, kind of washed out, kind of gray. That's after. Now I get a nicely contrasted photo, and it really deepens the shadows inside these areas here. So let's take a look at a couple other photos here. If we look at this photo, you can see it's kind of got a jump in the histogram. What I would do with this one is I'd go into Levels. It's Control-L, Command-L on the Mac. And I'd forget about these white areas, because you know what this is? This is the sky. Okay, this is that big spike in here is going to be the sky. I'd forget about it, and I'd move the whole image and brighten it up. Now that's before, and that's after. Again, before and after. So I've brightened up the image nicely in here. I've made all these gray colors. Everything that was in here inside the wall, I've made it a lot lighter, so I get some more contrast. And then after the fact here, it'd just be a quick magic wand selection to select that sky and maybe add some color to the sky separately. All right, let's move on here, take a couple other examples. Here's one where it's going to kind of be the opposite. We'll go back over here into levels, and you can see now we're missing some on the other side. So all these colors inside the snow, they're not quite white. They're kind of a light gray color. So we can really add some punch to the photo by dragging this over and telling Photoshop, now I want everything that was inside here, everything between 255 and 238, I want that to now be white. And that's what this white point slider is I'm now setting that as my white point. So everything in between here will become white. Do the same thing with black. I'll just drag it to where the little mountain starts to climb here, and everything there becomes black. And take a look at before, kind of gray, after, and I get a lot more punch down here inside the snow. Keep going through here. Here's one example. I'll finish off with this one just because it's such a great example of what you can do with the histogram and levels in Photoshop. So let's jump into it. And these underwater cameras are becoming so popular because they're a lot cheaper, a lot easier to use. You can even buy a bag for your camera. But as a result, you tend to get these very washed out photos. As I look at the photo, again, I just kind of evaluate it and I say, it looks like it's lacking something. And when I see the histogram, I can see that it's lacking a lot. This whole area is gone from the photo. There's no dark colors. And on the same side over here, there's no light colors either. So what do? We take our black point, move it to where the mountain starts, take our white point, move that over to where the mountain starts to climb. And now look at our before and after. If you didn't watch it as it happened, take a look at the preview. That's before, and that's after. Now, it's an entirely different photo, and this is really going to grab somebody's attention. I've increased the tones. I've made the whole exposure look better in the photo. It's even making the color look more vibrant just by dragging a couple sliders here. So that's just a couple of ways where you can look at your histogram, use it to evaluate your photos, and then jump into the levels dialog there and see if you can start adjusting those sliders to really bring out some contrast and just make the whole photo look better.